The Ladder's Last Rung by Gail Marlene Shwartz. Alder Boot by John Lobb. Richly grained leather offers subtle texture to a robust boot grounded by lug sole. Lace-up style, leather upper and lining synthetic sole. Made in England, Nordstrom's, $2,427.80. The first twinge happened after Tony agreed to dog sit for Mrs. Eisenstadt's Neapolitan Mastiff. Mrs. E was a bank teller where Tony was the manager, and the woman was a fan of his. While her gum chewing irritated him, and her high-pitched voice meant spongy earplugs, and her lunches always smelled like barbecued shoe leather, he felt a strange sense of loyalty. Although she was zaftig in stature, there was something fragile about her that he couldn't quite put his finger on. Things that felt normal to him seemed to baffle her, which meant that she often was pulling him into problems that, while he was happy to help, fell substantially outside of his job description. These included issues like a delivery person with an allergy to the bank's carpet, a busted intercom in the break room, or the hand soap in the ladies' room leaving a light pinkish stain on the washer's palm. "I'm taking my niece to the Jersey Shore, and my regular dog sitter is in the hospital with a rheumatoid arthritis flare-up. Can I leave Gus with you?" As she picked up her coffee, her glasses inched down her nose. She looked up at him bare-eyed, confident, and then reached for a stick of gum. "Thanks, Tony, you're the best." She grinned, popped the piece into her mouth, started chewing. A tiny spear shot through Tony's right heel. He wasn't shocked that she'd asked him to dog sit, although this was the first incursion into his personal life. He figured, well, he had a dog of his own, and maybe they'll get along. Then, a few weeks later, when Tony walked Gus alongside Bounder, his Newfoundland, the twinge happened again. The right heel, a searing pulling sensation, like he'd participated in a ballroom dance competition, only he hadn't. He hadn't even seen Ophelia, his dance partner, since before buying the condo last April. Tony had never been sensitive to pain of any kind, thanks to good genes. He had never dealt with chronic anything. Just a twinge, nothing to worry about. That night, with Gus and Bounder snoring on the floor beneath him, Tony dreams. The air is foggy, thick, and at first he can only see an occasional crack of brightness as a broken band of clouds passes over the moon. When the clouds disperse, he's in a cornfield. On the horizon is a tiny person and a miniature arm flailing at him. He must get to the child, but the field is mucky, wet. He wears hiking boots, which keep getting sucked into the mud, and he has to tug each foot up to take a step. Eventually, the left shoe stays in the ground, then the right, and he steps out sock-footed, the thick silt soaking quickly into the fabric against his feet. Then a voice, reedy and high-pitched, flows from the horizon. Is it the child? Tony can't make out the words, but they seem to be some kind of instruction. The sound is mottled, distorted. He stares at the sky, helplessly, and then looks at his muddy socks. The cotton begins to dissolve. His dirty feet lay exposed against the sludge. Tiny hairs on toes, fungus-covered nails, and as Tony watches, they begin to change. The skin starts to dissolve, and his feet slowly become one with the ground. He woke up abruptly. What on earth? The dogs were on the bed, staring and panting, their hot breath hitting his face. He reached out to rub Bounder, and Gus licked his palm. Tony sat up and placed his feet on the wooden planks of his bedroom floor. He looked at his feet, checking that they were as he had left them on the night before, and instantly felt silly. Just a dream. Sartobi Brogue Leather Derby Shoes by Christian Louboutin. Smooth calf leather, accentuated with sophisticated brogue trim, stacked heel, rounded toe, lace-up vamp, signature Louboutin red leather outsole, made in Italy, Neiman Marcus, $1,325. Walking to work that day in a light snowfall, he saw a guy wearing red boots, which reminded him of his favorite shoes, bright red lace-ups with black polka dots. He had worn them to a Christmas party a few years ago, and his red button-down and black bow tie, and when Mrs. Eisenstadt saw him, she raised her left eyebrow and gave him a little grin like, "Wow, you're this cool guy who can dress and handle anything, and you're on my team, and you sometimes take care of my dog." He wouldn't admit this to his colleagues or his boss, but he liked being seen by her this way. He liked being seen by anyone at the bank this way. Fortress, rudder, rock. He stopped in at the lavish latte to pick up a coffee and saw the custodian mopping up a spill. 13 years ago, he was a custodian himself at the bank. It went so well that he got promoted first to teller, then assistant manager, and now manager. He didn't love being in charge, but he was good at it. He had helped his father at the watch repair shop as a child. He had helped take care of his sister Heidi, who has Down syndrome. He had worked 2 full-time jobs when his father had cancer 10 years ago, so his mother could stay home and nurse Dad until the end. He hadn't loved these things either, but they were important. They made him who he was. Thanking the barista, he grabbed his latte and headed to work. He jingled the bells on the bank door and stamped the snow off his boots. The first thing he saw was Mrs. E tapping her foot, clearly waiting for him. Her mouth was turned downward. Strands of washed-out gray hair strayed from her characteristically tight bun. "The photocopier is jammed," she said, rolling her eyes. "Thank God you're here." Tony's wrists heated up, and a film of perspiration dampened his cuffs. "No worries, I got it." He believed in helping others. He believed in reliability. He believed in science and data. He believed in excellence. He believed in working hard. He believed in following rules and waiting your turn. He believed in straight lines. He believed in painstaking honesty, even when it was self-injurious. He believed in quality clothing. He believed in family and community. He believed in the Good Samaritan. He believed in privacy and not letting his guard down. He believed in doing his best. He believed in preparing for the worst. He believed in right and wrong. 2 hours later, the photocopier was like new. His feet were throbbing, and he spent the rest of the day sitting at his desk, Advil washing through his bloodstream. A few hours later, a related dream. It's foggy, still the same full moon occasionally peeking out from the clouds, only this time he's trudging barefoot through a desert, each foot sinking into sand as he steps. He looks around, and it's only sand and sky and moon and stars. He hears a howl off in the distance, a high-pitched, screechy sound. Then a figure in the sky. It's some sort of feline, and its leg is bleeding. He needs to get to it somehow. He knows he needs to move up, but each step pulls him down a bit deeper. Can he fly? Is there an elevator or an escalator or a ladder somewhere? He looks around fruitlessly. There's nobody else. Only he can save the animal. His mouth is dry. His stomach grumbles. He's lonely. And then a voice again, a tenor range. It seems to be coming from the sky. This time less distortion. Stop. If he stops, he won't reach the animal, so he slogs on, the sand burning the bottoms of his feet. He tries to run, but the sand shifts and he can barely push himself forward in space. Soon, his feet and legs disappear, and his torso is sucked into a hot whirlpool of sand. And as he sinks, a desperate wail bubbles up from his belly. Bug's Suede Clog by Hender Shemme. immaculate detailing, gold buckle, wider offset rubber sole, suede upper, perforated toe, made in Japan, Canoe Club, $637. In March, Tony hired the neighbor's teenage daughter, Ariel, to help with Bounder because his feet were now hurting so much it was hard to walk. Whenever she came, Bounder would glance back at Tony as she snapped on the leash like, "Tone boy, what the fuck?" He now had some strategies. He stretched. He slid around the living room on his old skateboard. He froze 2 water bottles and massaged his feet into frozen plastic. At work, everything was fine. Mrs. Eisenstadt sang his praises at staff meetings. He got his annual raise after his usual stellar performance evaluation in April. The customers he saw left 5-star reviews on Google. His mother asked him to spend the weekend with Heidi so she and Tony's father could go on vacation. He brought Bounder and took his sister to see Frozen and to the bowling alley and to her favorite restaurant, Vladimir Poutine. Life was normal. Life was fine. But when Ophelia called to see if he wanted to sign up for a foxtrot competition, he said no. Too much pain. Bally Charlex leather penny loafers. Streamline almond toe silhouette. Leather upper. Textile sole. Made in Switzerland. Saks Fifth Avenue. $454. Tony went to see his doctor in July. She suspected plantar fasciitis, but sent him to a podiatrist to be sure. The podiatrist confirmed the diagnosis. He gave Tony some literature on the condition and told him to rest for a few weeks and take Advil. He recommended ice. A few weeks later, the pain was the same. Tony went back to the podiatrist and was fitted for orthotics. It was thousands of dollars as his insurance didn't cover it. He put it on a credit card. That's what credit is for. No shoe shopping for a few months. No dancing. He wondered when, if ever, he would get to do those things again. The podiatrist told Tony to keep a pain diary. Better or worse than yesterday? Better or worse after stretching? Better or worse after a week with new orthotics? Rate the pain. Chart the pain. Study the pain. In June, another dream. Same night, same moon, but there are sidewalks and curbs and stop signs and evergreen hedges. There's an elderly man pulling his recycling bin to the street and 2 teenagers riding bikes and a car alarm going off. Someone's radio is blaring Lizzo from a window propped open with a book. Tony trudges down a street wearing winter boots that feel a size too big. The extra space makes him stumble periodically, which is uncomfortable, forcing him off balance. As he walks by a yellow cape house, he hears a soft rapping. He looks up to the second floor, and there's a face in the window, just for a second. As soon as the boy sees him looking, he pulls the curtain. The boy looks afraid, and Tony wants to help. How can he get to him? The garage door is open, so he looks in. The door to the house through the garage might be unlocked. He steps onto the black tar of the paved driveway and instantly feels heat penetrate his soles. There's steam rising from the tar, and he understands that the tar is hot and wet. This time, when he hears the voice, he almost expects it. The sound seems to be coming from the house. Down. Down? Why down? He needs to climb up to help the boy. Anyway, there's no place below him. He must have misunderstood. He pulls his feet one at a time, barely able to lift them. They grow heavier and heavier, stickier and stickier, and he's aware of his heart speeding up. Soon, he is unable to move his feet. They are completely sealed to the tar. Fire energy pushes through the soles and steadily moves up to his ankles, shins, thighs, ass, belly, torso, chest, shoulders, neck, and head. He glances down. His body has turned to tar. Spring morphed into summer, which turned to fall, and then winter, and Tony's feet continued hurting. He didn't dance, he didn't hike, he didn't run. He iced and charted and went to the doctor and took Advil, but most days he was in agony. The snow began again, and Tony was thankful that Ariel still wanted to help with Bounder. One evening, after paying her and feeding the dog, Tony picked up the photo of himself and Ophelia when they won a Latin competition in Tempe. They were dressed in turquoise and black, legs extended together, hands clasped, faces flushed and lit with smiles. He picked it up, then put it down, picked it up and put it down, until Bounder started whining at his feet. He scratched the dog's neck and told him to stay in the living room while he shuffled out onto the deck in sub-zero frigid air, his feet bathed in snow. When the soles were burning with cold, he came back inside. He stood on the fuzzy woolen rug near the slider, feet numb and pale from lack of circulation. He sat down at the computer and looked at his Instagram. There was a new post from the plantar fasciitis community. A woman posted about a certain non-traditional doctor and some book on chronic pain. She says she just did a 5K. She's had PF for 12 years. He read the post again, moving his face closer to the screen. Bounder panted, nails scraping the sliding glass door. Tony glanced up at the clock. The dog has a grown-up bladder. He can wait. He ordered the book by a guy called Dr. John Sarno and downloaded it onto his Kindle. He let the dog out and started reading, finishing an hour and a half later. After bringing Bounder in and feeding him a snack, he ordered a second book by the same author and gobbled it whole. It was 3 a.m. Something was buzzing beneath Tony's skin, all over his body. The fourth time he dreams, the landscape is an abandoned freeway with a massive building in the distance. There's something on top of the building, a giant winged insect. The insect is buzzing, communicating, or at least trying. Tony is wearing women's heels and has to step gingerly, making minuscule micro-adjustments in balance to prevent falling. He knows the insect is key, and he has to get to the building no matter how slowly. Step by step, as zings and zaps and spasms and electrical jolts pass through his feet, the building grows larger and larger. From inside, a single bulb radiates golden light. He's trying to figure out the space. It looks like some kind of warehouse. He approaches the window and peers in. There are hundreds, thousands of ladders. If I can use one of these ladders, prop it up to the building, and step rung by rung. He checks the window, but it's bolted. He hobbles around the side of the blue-gray shingled building, and every window is locked. He doesn't see a door. Then the voice again. Climb down. The insect buzzes and Tony's head pounds. He looks for a rock to break the window. He hobbles on his heels, grabs a stone and heaves it at the nearest glass pane. As it shatters, the ground beneath the building gives out. The walls collapse with a crash and Tony covers his ears, and all the ladders except one tumble inside. Tony is left peering down at the gaping chasm while the insect continues buzzing faintly in the sky above him. Ultra Boost 5X shoes by Adidas. Regular fit, lace closure, textile upper, textile lining, torsion system, continental rubber outsole. Contains at least 20% recycled content. Imported. Foot Locker, $120. Reading Sarno's books, he realized there was a lot expected of his feet. Weight, pressure, the boxes from his father's watch repair shop, Heidi's neediness, Mrs. Eisenstadt's admiration. Is admiration heavy? Yes. Yes, it would sink down from his ears into his bloodstream and travel, fall really, catapulting through his blue-green veins until it landed smack dab in his heels, where it tore and punctured and ruptured and disrupted and pitched a tent and refused to leave. Heavy, heavy, heavy. The load-bearing capacity of his metatarsals had, he realized, been greatly exceeded. He kept reading. He read before bed. He read on the bus. He read on his lunch break. The book said never to accommodate the pain. Ever. Start small, but do regular activities. He started walking Bounder, just to the corner and back. Agony. After a week, he went around the block. Burning. Then he took the dog to Safeway, another 3 blocks. Tingling. To the elementary school. Sensation. 1 week. Mrs. Eisenstadt asked him to talk to the cleaning company because they kept forgetting to empty the wastebaskets. He told her, sweating, that he didn't have time. Perhaps she could check in with Marion instead. 2 weeks after his introduction to Sarno, he has another dream. It's night and the moon is full and he's crawling through a cave. He's wearing steel-toed boots, but somehow they're porous and his feet feel all the elements. Another voice, a female voice, sings, swimming into his bloodstream. The notes are on pitch, but wailing, crying, desperate. He inches around stalactites and stalagmites and bats and slippery surfaces. The singing is coming from the cave's opening, and he's driven to reach it. Knee against rock makes him want to scream, but he keeps crawling. Finally, Tony sees a faint lessening of blackness and knows this is the entryway of the cave, and he's almost to the voice. He moves toward it with renewed vigor. The blackness becomes charcoal gray, the walls of the cave breaking into large pixels which sharpen into shapes. He crawls out of the cave's opening, and a vast expanse lies in front of him, an explosion of stars above a drop and black space. The cave is built into a cliff. The moon is full, and stars penetrate the thick sky. He pushes himself to his feet, which are bare, walks to the edge, and looks. The voice continues singing. Tony looks up. It gets louder. What can I do? Then he looks down at his feet. They've turned into petunias. For the first time, he wonders what's below in the dark. The singing stops. Line Up by Blue Ladder. Natural rubber flip-flop. Conforms to the curve of your feet. Non-hazardous, eco-friendly, and recyclable natural rubber. Ethically made in Sri Lanka. Goodwill. $4. He fell asleep in the hammock after work again. Bounder was licking his hand, and his feet hurt so much that he shocked himself with tears. He just wanted relief. He wasn't actually tired. After he drifts off, he sees the crescent moon. He glances around at palm trees swaying violently in a tropical gale. The ocean roars off in the distance, and frothy white waves slamming and shimmering in the moonlight. A boat is tossed on pointy, dancing waves, and Tony feels an urgency. He's wearing water shoes. He has to run into the sea to save whoever is on board. Beneath his feet are rocks, thousands of granite, jagged, spiky stones poking through the rubber soles into his feet. He walks gingerly, picking each foot up like peeling a pancake with a spatula. He places one foot down, heel, instep, ball, toes. Heel, instep, ball, toes. He feels the U-shaped motion with each step, and heat begins building in the tendons. Blood begins draining down his body, and the warm rush knocks against his bones, lower and lower and lower until it reaches his feet. His body starts to melt. He's got to do something. Desperate and helpless, he reaches his hands in the air like a toddler asking to be picked up. The sea recedes, tumbling over a cliff, and a brick pathway appears. Tony's body starts to cool. Limbs separate and differentiate. Fingers unweb themselves. Lungs reestablish their oblong shapes. He suddenly has a distinct sense of himself as a particular shape in the world. A warmth soaks into his hands like someone is clasping them, and he's transported to the edge of the cliff. A blue ladder appears, soft like a child's plush toy. It extends into the chasm, into the darkness. Tony looks around and then up. A hazy outline of the boat has risen into the sky. Is there a ladder leading up somewhere? Up is no longer an option. He smiles. He takes off his shoes and steps onto the satiny softness of the ladder's last rung. In a month, he and Ophelia win a bronze in the tango.